and your dreams ain't cheap. In fact, it costs a ton of cash to do. So that's why me and the OhNo radio show need your help. Just go to the website displayed below and hit us up with some cash, yo. $1, $5, $1 million if you have it to spare. Any amount is appreciated. Well, I gotta go because these dreams ain't gonna fuck themselves. See ya!
Back to another edition of the OhNo Wrestling Podcast. My name is Owen. I am your Sharp Break Kid, and joined with me today is our reigning, defending, and still your World Predictions Champion, the one and only Duncan, King of Bong Style. Duncan, you did it again with pretty easy victory on this one.
I mean, wasn't that much to predict, honestly.
Wasn't that much to predict at the time that we did the show. We didn't even have official that they were going to be doing the pre-show match with Nakamura and Damian Priest. So that wasn't even in there. And all you really had to do was compete against me because you and Matthew had exact same predictions. So that's kind of, that
was the happy accident, to be fair.
Kind of foolish on his part, if you ask me. But
well,
I think you got them all right, though. That's the thing.
There's that, yeah.
Right? Because you had the Raw Women's, SmackDown Men's, which, right? I think this is the way it worked. It was Raw Women's, SmackDown Men's.
SmackDown is is Seth on SmackDown?
Now you got me guessing.
Yeah.
Now you got me wondering. God damn it.
Hang on.
Yeah, because he was the sole survivor, obviously, of that. No, is he on Raw again now? I can't even remember. This is how much we cared about this pay-per-view, to be honest with you.
Well.
And then, of course, you guys predicted Becky and Roman to, of course, win their matches. So, yeah. Was it a Raw victory? Now I'm second guessing myself.
Well, I'm looking it up right now, and I will say that it was such, look, we haven't even talked about the fact that, because we haven't talked about the latest round of releases, have we?
Yeah, we did. We talked about that last show.
We did?
Yeah.
All right. Well, did we talk about, we talked about Rage quitting Peacock then?
We talk about
because
Oh, right. Yeah. No, we both did. We were just over it, really. And I think it was due to those last round of releases. Maybe we didn't talk about them. Now I can't remember. Maybe
I don't think we did.
Maybe
because I think it happened right after.
Yeah. It might have been. It all blends together. Yeah, because the last thing
does.
The last time we talked, we talked more or less about Full Gear. So I think we. The releases must have come just after our last show, and of course,
I think it was either that night or the night after.
I seem to just remember us talking about maybe we talked. I don't know. It's inconsequential at this point because, quite frankly, we all know about the releases. We know about Hit Row. We know about John Morrison. We know about Swerve and all that. So. These are.
I think that's the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
I think Swerve is the one where it's just like, oh man, y'all fucked up.
It's dumb. It's insanely dumb, and he's a guy that will do great work elsewhere. He's a guy that's like already got some indie pedigree. He's no slouch to begin with. People know him. I don't think he would have been hired by WWE if he didn't have a pretty good reputation as well, like on the indies. Like
Right.
so he already has that. And yeah, like he will do well in a place like AEW, but he's not one that needs AEW because he's a guy that can just go and pretty much work wherever he wants. He can freelance. He can bounce around from a New Japan to an MLW to, that was I think the first time I heard of his name was MLW, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I was going to say he was signed to MLW right before he got signed to NXT. So
exactly, and that's an interesting thing. Before we get into Survivor Series and kind of our general thoughts, even though we basically didn't really watch most of it apart from clips.
Right.
MLW did came out with a statement that they're changing their kind of policy, that they're like basically okay with working with people on open contracts, and that they're not
open door policy with all these released talent,
which is genius at this point. It
really is.
That's a very smart move. It's a very smart move for MLW. Something that I feel like is sort of needed in this landscape, and we'll get more into this later. But it begs the question: Is AEW and Impact, are they enough to even like compete? And I guess you could throw New Japan in there as well, but it feels like there's room for another major promotion. Like it feels like that there's.
I mean, with Ring of Honor going under, or like going under restructuring, whatever the hell is going to happen, it's definitely left sort of a void for another company.
Ring of Honor was always the super indie, It was an indie, but it was more than an indie.
It was the one step up from PWG.
That's a good way to put it.
Because Ring of Honor had a deal with PWG that allowed their talent to work on the West Coast, because our ROH didn't have a West Coast presence.
Sure.
So that's why you'd get all these different people working Ring of Honor and PWG. So I really think that you almost need that. See, because now, and I hate to use the comparison, but if you want to look at it, WWE, AEW is the new WCW in rank.
Sure.
And sort of like power. And then you need a new ECW is what you need. And honestly, GCW,
Game Changer Wrestling, is probably taking that mantle. And they've done more than they kind of ever have, right? Like their legitimacy is increased tenfold with the whole Matt Cardona stuff and the Moxley stuff and just kind of
and the dark side about Nick Gage.
Yep. And they've been more prevalent than they ever have in the wrestling industry to this point.
Yeah. Dude, I saw somebody wearing a GCW shirt at my factory the other day.
Wow. That's not.
And I was like,
that's not surprising, because, but it is surprising.
It would be less surprising at your factory.
Correct.
Like your factory, you definitely see a lot more of the wrestling fans coming through, and a lot more of like sort of the AEW crew. I see a lot of WWE shirts, a lot of Roman Reigns. Did see a Mox shirt a couple days ago.
Interestingly
enough, to see that come through, and I was.
No, that is super interesting. It also it's very poignant, and it also like it makes the point, right, that like it's not just a one-off indie that only like a few hundred people like randomly like. This is something that's like gaining national attention, and not something that they've done so in the past. I will say, when I was thinking about this when I was at my factory. A theme park. We both work at theme parks, just different ones.
Yep.
And I always look out for the wrestling shirts.
Same.
It's I haven't seen many apart from Roman Reigns. I can't name you the last WWE wrestling shirt that I've seen.
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen many other. I saw a Becky Lynch shirt, and I think I've seen a Bailey shirt. And yeah, other than that,
and those are probably, especially with like Bailey and stuff, like those are probably more local people that were more fans of the NXT stuff.
I
you
could
know?
tell they were local.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see a fair amount of Roman Reigns shirts. But then yeah, I've seen more Mox, and dude, you know what I've seen the most of? Fucking those.
I've seen a lot of CM Punk shirts. Yep, I've seen a lot of those lately.
So many CM Punk shirts, and we had talked about this off air about like the kind of let's sort of keep a mental tally of what we see at our factories. Dude, CM Punk by a mile.
I think I would agree with you. I think I would agree with you at my factory. I think it's between CM Punk and Roman. Those are the two that I would say.
Those top two for sure.
Yep.
And that sort of speaks to where, like to the state of those two companies. And so you've got, right? Like you've got Roman up at the top over here, and Punk, even though he's not the champion, like Punk is still considered the biggest star in AEW.
I think he's probably the biggest draw at this point to the company. I think
biggest name.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're probably right. Let's talk about the state of these two companies, and one in particular with the just having Survivor Series on Sunday. It was. I think we were both so disillusioned that we, by those releases, that we did decide to cancel our Peacock subscriptions prior to the show. And I wanted to do so to kind of make a point. And, you vote with your wallet in the world of wrestling. I've always thought that. And if that's one small thing that I can do, that's one small thing I can do. A pretty, lackluster build is even putting it too nicely, to be honest with you. I mean, just a garbage build towards pretty much every match except the opener that was Charlotte and Becky. And that Charlotte and Becky build was only exciting because of the fact it was sort of based in some reality.
Yeah.
Yep,
100%.
It
And like the thing that really
where do you stand on this
about that too? It's just like, oh man, I think it started as a shoot and now it's a work.
I think you're right. I think there's elements of both in it in general. Like I don't think that they're great friends. I think they probably did have a falling out, and I think they've kind of like twisted it into storyline, but now they're making it a bigger deal than it really is in real life. That's kind of my general thoughts.
I agree. I think that it was one of those things where, they definitely had a falling out for whatever. And honestly, you got to imagine it's because of ego, right?
Yeah, it's got to have something. It's got to have something to do with an ego.
The fact that they both are at the top of their so you have that, and then
you also have the Ric Flair stuff. You also have the stuff with about the man and all the Ric Flair stuff.
Yeah, and we'll get to Rick later, I am sure.
Yeah.
But it's you've got the Ric Flair stuff, the man thing. But then there's the nepotism of Charlotte being a Flair and all this. And I think that they started out, but dude, I think that if they were really shooting on each other, the company would shut it down. The company would be like, we have too much invested in the both of you. Knock it the fuck off.
I think so too. I think
there's
a good argument to be made for that. And And it did turn out from all accounts that it was the best match of the night. Still had a kind of a screwy finish. Still had, Becky kind of holding on to a roll up with Becky holding on to the ropes. And I know she's supposed to be a heel, but can we not have one clean victory between these two? Can we not have just have Becky just get a definitive win? If that's
right,
because that's what I feel like they should have done. Because now it only just leads it to, we're gonna have more of this.
Another match.
Here we go
We
again.
get to have it again.
And that's kind of pointless at this point.
Absolutely.
The 2 Survivor Series matches I've seen a couple clips from. The men's was obviously a bit better than the women's, but nothing to really write home about.
Neither of them, really.
And the women's was pretty pathetic from, again, all accounts, to the fact that, and I don't support this, but, fans were doing the wave, doing stupid chants, even a CM Punk chant and all that.
A CM Punk chant,
well, that's kind of stupid.
Why?
It made sense before he came back to wrestling. It doesn't make sense now. You can just go and watch him on another TV program. So, that one doesn't make sense to me. But I always think that the best reaction if you're dissatisfied in a crowd is to remain silent. That's because because when you start doing these alternative chants and kind of showing your disinterest in this is boring and any of that type of stuff, by doing that, you're creating a sense of heat for wrestlers, and they kind of WWE doesn't know how to interpret it, so they think that, oh, look, there's a reaction. They're
well, that, and it's disrespectful to the wrestlers for one, but it's more of a statement to remain silent,
I think,
than it is to give them any reaction at all. Because in order for a wrestling match to be good, the crowd needs to be engaged. 100%. If the crowd is silent, then the match is going to feel flat, and that's what you need to do.
Now, I don't necessarily disagree with the crowd's uninvolvement with either. But it's.
And I also agree that you buy the ticket, right? You can go and chant and do whatever the fuck you want, but I think it would be more effective if, as a wrestling fan, you just were quiet.
Thunderous silence is the term that comes to mind, because we've seen those matches and they feel awkward. They feel very awkward, and that's the type of thing that, when you, especially, I think we saw it with some of these guys. We've seen it. Names are slipping my mind, but with Speaking Out, guys that have wrestled since then, and fans just don't want any part of the bullshit and have just been kind of disinterested because of that. That's the best way that you can show all of that type of stuff. I also think, in the same token, that you needed kind of a clean win with Becky. I don't see any reason that they couldn't have done a clean win with Big E here.
Yeah.
And I get it. I get it. Keep Roman strong, blah, 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 blah. You could have, even if it wasn't a clean win, I think it would have done wonders to have Big E sneak one from Roman, especially when it's not a title match. When you don't necessarily,
that's the best way to do it.
That's and because now he has his number for later on down the road. Maybe when Big E loses the title, maybe he eventually does go to SmackDown and can be that guy to say to Roman, "Hey, I've actually beaten you before." Because now we have a built-in feud with that. If that was the case,
right? Exactly. And what better way to really establish Big E than to give him a win over Roman? A non-title win is still a win. He doesn't
100%.
have to beat him for a championship.
Yep. I did love, though, the fact that he was wearing Seinfeld gear. Did you catch this?
I did.
Yeah, he straight up, which I didn't even realize. I guess it's Big E's favorite show or something.
Of course,
Big E loves Seinfeld, so it was a good shout out. And I'm not gonna take credit for this point. I've seen it a million times and I've heard it on a few different podcasts. But was this a nod to the show about nothing? because what more apt gear to wear on this Survivor Series show was show about nothing.
Oh my God, dude. It was the most it was the most inconsequential fucking pay-per-view of the year. Not a single thing meant anything.
No stakes whatsoever.
No stakes.
Even proven the following night when, and we'll get to all the egg stuff and the stuff with, at least have a soul have the sole survivor mean something. Have the sole survivor get a title shot or something, right?
And do you remember the days when it wasn't just a sole survivor? There wasn't always just a sole survivor.
Sometimes it was a whole team because they were a dominant team.
Right. Like, why is this a thing now where it just like you have to have a sole survivor?
No,
why?
It doesn't. Why? Exactly. You can have 2 people. You can have 3 people. You could have the whole team if you wanted to.
Exactly. Like,
and yeah, I guess because of brand warfare, I think we would agree, has ruined Survivor Series and the whole concept of what a Survivor Series match is. If it was, I mean, can you imagine if AEW right now did a play on Survivor Series that was faction based and you had just faction versus faction, which is what it used to kind of be back in the day.
That's pretty much what it was.
You could WWE just has this like aversion to building strong factions in this day and age, and it would be
shit. They barely like tag teams.
Oh, they definitely don't like tag teams.
Right. So why are you going to like factions?
Yeah, exactly.
Every faction that works in NXT gets destroyed on the main roster.
Yeah, but like, I mean, just harkening back to Once Upon a Time, if you were to have like Sanity versus The Shield or something, I don't know, like you could.
Right.
But you could do that. I also don't think that every Survivor Series match needs to be 5 people. I think you can do 3-on-3 Survivor elimination matches. I think you can do 4-on-4. I think you can.
Right, you can have a few of the traditional 5-on-5s,
but they don't all have to be.
No, because that's also too much of one gimmick too. Right? Like
absolutely.
It's the same as if you have a Hell in a Cell and every single match is a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, but dumb as fuck. Like I mean, right now, you could have done, I would have preferred a women's Survivor Series match of like, Toxic Attraction from NXT, right? Women's, like, have them versus, I don't know, fucking Natalia, Tamina, and whoever the fuck. But that would at least.
Or what about like the Bloodline versus the New Day?
Do that exactly, and like have that. That is more interesting, and that's where you could do something where Big E gets a pin on Roman, and it's not like the end of Roman. It's not, but it still pumps Big E up. And maybe one of the Usos drops the ball, so Roman like was expecting some sort of backup or something like that. Therefore, allowing Big E to get this sneak victory,
absolutely.
That seems like better storytelling. That seems like, and now we have something moving forward that we can do.
And even better storytelling, more entertaining.
Yes,
like they're supposed to be sports entertaining, and they're not sports entertaining,
and less fucking predictable as well.
Exactly.
That's the biggest point. Yeah, to do your thing. I don't know if he's going to be able to hear me. He's taking care of his lovely dog, Jack, while we do that. But one of the major takeaways from Survivor Series and then moving into Monday Night Raw was the topic of Vince McMahon and his big golden Cleopatra egg.
Oh, yes.
So this is a movie, right? That was like
Red Notice. Yeah, it's something from The Rock.
I think it's on Netflix.
I think it's The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's obviously it's like the big thing of the movie, some sort of heist type movie, I'm guessing. And here it is, Vince McMahon showing up with this egg thing. And he's all proud of this $100 million egg?
$100 million egg.
Yeah. Oh, man. And the egg gets stolen, Duncan.
Unbelievable.
The egg gets
That's something
stolen.
that they bring something that they bring in from the outside and put a main focus on gets stolen or destroyed.
And I love the fact that Vince McMahon is here bragging about having $100 million egg while he fires half of the people.
While he's
on
fired
his
80
roster.
people
Yeah.
in the last fucking calendar year.
Yes. It is.
Jesus Christ.
Again, optics. WWE have no concept of optics, do they?
They really don't. No, they have no fucking clue. Their hubris.
And then
they have absolutely no clue.
I don't know because I didn't watch either of them, but I did read, and I don't know if it was on Monday Night Raw or on Survivor Series, but Vince said the words, and if you don't find my egg, you're fired, basically.
Right.
Or I think it was even worse than that. You're the next one fired, or something. Like almost acknowledging the real life releases of
oh my god
all these superstars. Again,
it's so terrible.
Optics, guys. Like you're not doing yourself any favors in making me want to invest in literally anyone, because how can I get invested when at the drop of a hat they can just be released?
Everybody that I've been invested in lately has been released.
Yeah, there's like there's more than that. They still have a considerable amount of talent on those rosters.
Oh, they do. They have, but like the people that I was really getting into personally, like Aleister Black.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like things like that. Bray.
It's KO and Sammy that's really left for me now. Like that's really about all who I'm invested in.
And I think KO is phoning it in for another month.
I think he's out the goddamn door, and they're hard to get invested in when you know that is probably the case, because I don't think Sammy's going to be much further behind him. You know, like it's logical. Talking about
and the thing that sucks is everybody go to AEW. Is just like, well, not everybody, but a lot of that talent needs to go to AEW.
A lot of them will be treated.
KO needs to go to AEW
in a heartbeat.
Johnny Gargano needs to go to AEW. And I think that
Sammy would go back to Japan. I don't think they would snatch Sammy. I don't know why, but I feel like Sammy would, or he might even stay in WWE.
He might, dude. Sammy was sort of a Ring of Honor standout.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, let's talk a little bit about that too. We were just mentioning earlier about how is there a need for another, promotion, and maybe what Ring of Honor have done is completely strategic, knowing that all these releases have happened. There's probably more releases coming. Is there a possibility that in a grand sort of revamp in the new year, they can kind of rebirth Ring of Honor, because it's been in such a slump post-COVID?
Right.
Like it would be a smart thing to do.
It would be the smart thing to do. I think a big thing that Ring of Honor did is they tried to branch out too far, like outside of their sort of, I guess, home base in like the Northeast, really, in the Midwest. I think that didn't do them any favors. But dude, like you think about it. What was it? 3 fucking years ago, they sold out the Garden with New Japan in a cross-promotional show. Like
I know AEW has its working relationship with New Japan, but there's no reason that Ring of Honor can't also have a working relationship with New Japan. And I feel like
I agree.
And I feel like that is probably a key to a big component into getting people back in. And don't just limit that to New Japan. Maybe Ring of Honor does some stuff with Impact, does some stuff with MLW, does some stuff with GCW.
See, I think the Impact and MLW are like those two have a synergy that nobody's really picked up on yet.
Well, there was some Bauer. There was some weird stuff with Court Bauer and Impact, I think, a few years ago. So I think there is a slight working relationship between the two.
Right. I just think that, like, mistaken. I don't know, like the two, even almost in the way their production is,
Yeah.
like it has a very similar thing. I will say I need to watch more MLW because they're bringing that Lucha Underground style back, and
And
I
we were both pretty
fucking
big
love it.
fans of
So,
that. Yeah. I still haven't made
yeah,
it through everything of Lucha Underground. I kind of stopped.
dude, did
at
you
some
ever
point,
make
but
it to the? Did you ever make it to the Vampiro and Penna thing?
don't think
You,
so.
you would know.
Yeah, I would apparently know.
Oh, you would know.
Well, I even
When you
remember.
get to that,
I even remember that when I wasn't watching it being a thing and not really being clued in. But I remember that being a huge headline and like that whole like series of things.
when
So
you get to that,
I
especially the
will.
match that
I'll
they
dive.
have,
I'll
you're going to
dive
be
back
like,
in.
oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
So,
And
like,
and
I don't know.
MLW has a lot of roots right here in town. You know, it's
Yeah.
for the longest time shot everything from right down the street from my house, like
Yep,
just right around
sure
the
did.
corner. And to think that that was like MJF's home base once upon a time. Like that was
Right.
I heard a story on Colt Cabana's Wrestling Anonymous podcast, which I found hilarious just because I'm a local to the area, where they were talking about like all of the this guy called in and was talking about, you know, living in Orlando, going to these MLW shows, and a lot of the wrestlers would go to this diner. I know exactly the diner that was right across pretty much the street from the club that they recorded in. And
Yep.
it's off Bennett Road. I can show you on a map exactly where it is. And it was actually a bar once upon a time that was really cool to go to. So MJF was there, and guy wanted to get a selfie with him, and MJF did the old, well, I'll give you one, but it's $20. And he's like, well, that's a little much. I don't really have $20 on me right now. He's like, well, you know, it's the only way you're getting it. So he waits a little bit. And he's like, okay, I changed my mind, you know, like he had a couple drinks or whatever, and he goes back to back to MGF, and he says, you know, all right, change my mind. Here's $20. Can I get that? No, it's $30 now. And he's like, fuck, well, I don't have $30. So he goes away, and he's talking to the bar owner, who happens to, he's like, no, MJF. He's like, well, that guy's in here all the time. Let me see if I can talk to him and, you know, get you a picture or whatever. So the bar owner goes and talks to him. The guy's standing right off to the side of the bar owner as he's talking to MJF. And MJF goes like, what? The picture for that guy? That guy right here? He's like, well, it's $40 now. So
I love it. I was hoping that was where it was going to go.
Yeah. But just to think, like, that was right in our hometown. That's a place that I've gone to many a times. And it was before, It was just like when that was really hot. That was something I wasn't really into indie wrestling yet. I was only just getting back into the world of wrestling, let alone dipping my toe into the indies. But now that we've, you know, closed off our sort of relationship, and we'll still keep tabs on WWE. Don't get us wrong.
It's hard not to. Like it's
yes.
the biggest name in wrestling, right? Like it is impossible to not talk about WWE. We will still talk about WWE.
But I think it's more important for us to put our money elsewhere, in something like a High Spots.
I'm going back to High Spots. I was just gonna say,
yeah,
I'm gonna spend that $10 a month that I was spending on the network.
Maybe we can do a split share on that or something. Like if they let you use more than one login, or
did only allow one viewing at a time.
But that's
like
something we can work around, like with both. Like that's we'll talk about that off air. You know, but we definitely want to put our money and sort of podcast resources is essentially into talking more about indies, and especially with all this talent that's been released that we're interested in, that we have invested in a lot of them, that we want to see succeed in other places. We will follow the talent, and I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
Absolutely. Well, and that's sort of the thing too, is just like you follow the talent. The nice thing is pro wrestling tees exist, so you can always find their merch. You don't have to like just go to a show anymore.
Exactly.
Because that used to be a big deal. Did you see that Pro Wrestling Tees is closing their retail store?
No, I did not.
So
that's
they
unusual.
They have such a demand
online
for printed and shipping online that they are basically like taking over the storefront to go to be like print and ship.
I wonder
stuff.
if they'll work with another retailer and partner with that. Maybe like kind of how it worked with Hot Topic once upon a time. Like maybe they can do something in that regard.
I mean, maybe. I don't know how. I mean, I know the Bullet Club shirt sold really well. I'm not sure how the rest of those shirts sold.
I think you could easily sell a shitload of CM Punk shirts at a Hot Topic right now.
For sure.
So
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's another big thing is like, because they do still send stuff to
pro wrestling
major retailers. They are going to still have a spot for like ordering. So like if you order a shirt or something and you can pick it up in Chicago, like they'll still have a pickup window or a pickup location, whatever.
That's the smart way to do it. Yeah, but they don't.
But yeah, they're just gonna.
I mean, major retail is dead in that way anyway, right? Like everything's going online. So at this point, it's it just makes sense. Speaking of like following the wrestlers, though, you sent me a picture for something, an ad for a show. That's really, I think it's going to shape up to be a big one. It's this New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong show that they're building.
Dude, yeah, the murder that's about to happen.
No, there's like multiple murders, I think, happening in this. So what is it? Mox Kingston versus Suzuki Archer?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
like,
that will
just say those words.
Yeah. Mox Kingston, Suzuki Archers.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Jesus Christ.
If I'm stepping all over, it's because your internet's dropping out a little bit.
Street fight.
Yeah.
I know.
You know what?
There's nothing I can do about it.
I tell you what we can probably do just to help, it might help a little bit, is just stop your video for a while. Sometimes that
sure.
Just do it audio based.
Helps because
you're using less bandwidth or whatever. But thinking about that, like the Mox Kingston Suzuki Archer thing, is this possibly the first time we'll see Mox back, and possibly the first time we'll see Archer back? Because I kind of think that's a poetic way to do it, and kind of a nice way to bring them back.
I think so as well. Like, I think that's a very I don't know. It's very fitting. So yeah, and it's a fucking Philadelphia street fight too.
Yeah. So do we know what that means, or is that just another street fight?
It's just a street fight. No disqualifications, countouts, and
they get to eat a cheesesteak halfway through the match.
The referee's only job is to render a decision by pinfall, submission, or knockout.
God damn it, Mox! What are you doing to yourself? You're gonna put yourself back into alcohol rehab, so don't do that.
Right? No shit.
Oh man.
I think I am gonna say I think it is only a matter of time before we see Brody King in AEW.
Oh, I think that's a pretty good assumption. I mean, I would also he's been doing this stuff with PWG, can't say that he won't maybe even do some stuff with New Japan. Like, he's a guy that I can see maybe not.
Oh, he's working with New Japan. He also works New Japan Strong.
Exactly. So like, this is a good way to kind of like intermingle those worlds. Like, cause I don't like, we're getting the New Japan crossover, but with AEW, it seems like the it's more of a New Japan Strong, the American New Japan stuff that's more of the crossover, right? That we're getting like a lot of the
right,
which makes sense. It makes complete sense. Brody King's a perfect fit. Like, and maybe he doesn't sign like a specific like AEW contract, but we found out in the past that doesn't always need to happen. That Tony Khan will sort of like he's a
really smart businessman. Yeah. Like, he understands what he needs to do to keep his product fresh and moving. And he's fine with being like, yeah, I'm going to bring you in for X amount of time. And if you want to, like, we can always extend, but you don't have to. Like, he's very, he is very shrewd in that way. Like, he's not like Vince McMahon where he's just like, I'm gonna lock everybody down so they can't do anything else. Tony wants to keep his talent happy.
Do you remember what the name, or do you have the name of that pay-per-view? Because I feel like there was another match or two that I had heard about on that very same pay-per-view.
It is, well, it's apparently New Japan Showdown.
Showdown.
Yeah, the end of the Showdown tour. It's New Japan Strong this week, so it's actually like it's not even a pay-per-view. It's New Japan.
Oh, I misinterpreted that. Okay.
No, it's New Japan Strong Saturday night.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got...
That's okay, and first match is official for Showdown in Philadelphia. So Mox is coming back quick.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And then they've got, like, they have a couple other matches announced, too. So they've got, like, Daniel Garcia, Brody King, and Chris Dickinson versus Bateman, Barrett Brown, and Mysterioso. Bateman, I've seen wrestle at bar wrestling a few times. Yeah, Team Fred Rosser, the former Darren Young.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, so Fred Rosser, Rocky Romero, Ren Narita, Carl Jacobs, and the DKC versus Team Filthy Tom Lawyer, JR Kratos, Royce Isaacs, Jarrell Nelson, and Danny Limelight. Bunch of people I don't know.
And he's we know Filthy Tom.
We know Lawler. Filthy, yeah.
He's another one that I can see popping up in AEW.
Yeah,
not full time by any means, but
no, but for sure for a little bit. But then you've all got Alex Coughlin versus Jonathan Gresham. Any match that Jonathan Gresham's in is going to be a banger.
No, you're right. You're right.
So there's that. And then there was just a PWG event this past weekend.
Was that another one of these that you can't see until like 3 months later when they release it on DVD or something? That's the only problem with PWG.
They release it on DVD fairly quickly. It doesn't end up on streaming for a few months.
That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if I have a working DVD player in this house, so it's like
I only do because I have an Xbox.
Sure. But when was the last time you bought an actual DVD, right? Like,
dude,
at a one-off event like that, it just seems like a flawed business model. But I suppose I get it. You know, I don't know.
They're still holding on to that those last shreds of indie cred. You know what I mean? Like, so, also we haven't talked about. I mean, I'm sure you have it on your list, but the fans going fucking cocoa bananas last night at Raw.
Yeah. One in particular, I would say, that this felt like this was unfortunate because whenever this happens and a fan like gets over the security barricade and like didn't it feel like he made it like really far though this time? Like this he
made it way further than he should have.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to agree with Chavo and say, remember when the wrestlers were tougher than the fans? Did you see that tweet?
I didn't, but yeah, this was interesting because
it was embarrassing.
Yeah, Seth.
It was fucking embarrassing.
Seth needed that help, man. He did.
Like you should be able to take care of yourself when a drunk asshole.
It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right for the fans to do anything like that. But
dude, I literally watched a video that it was a match between Stone Cold and Triple H, and Earl Hebner was the ref, and a fan jumped in the ring, and Trips and Hebner were beating the fuck out of the guy.
Yeah, and Hebner could have taken this dude. Like, that's the thing, is that the referee back in the day, it was that case. There's tons of stories about like even Michael P.S. Hayes beating the shit out of people.
Dude, Michael P.S. Hayes came out from backstage,
and that's why it was just like he ain't taking that shit. Michael P.S. Hayes was ready to fight this dude. Like, I feel like
right, but the fact that Michael P.S. Hayes, the fact that a 60-year-old freebird had to come out in his pimp suit
to defend little drip drip Seth Rollins.
Thank you.
That's not right either. Reddit, of course, had a field day with this. They were posting.
Oh God, I can only fucking imagine.
Yeah, they were posting one after one of like fans doing dumb shit and and you know, it was all based around like supporting the wrestlers and like how this fucking idiot gets his ass kicked by this guy. There is one that I'll have to send you with Eddie Kingston. I don't know if you've ever come across this.
Oh, I haven't. Oh God!
I know, it's scary. It's like,
oh God, why would you do that?
You picked the wrong motherfucker.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
No, baby, what is you doing?
Yeah. Like, that is not a good idea.
Oh, no.
No, it cracked me up. It's not the best camera work or anything. It's not the best footage, but you could at least get the point from it. And just the fact it's Eddie goddamn Kingston is enough. Oh man. And again, yeah, that New Japan, is that going to be, that's on their, you can watch that on New Japan streaming service, right? I don't even know how to
fucking watch New Japan Strong.
I don't really either.
Hang on, let's Google this. How to watch New Japan Strong. Currently airs on New Japan World and Fight TV.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I can make something like that happen. I might have to do that. I might actually bite the bullet and pay a couple bucks for that, because that actually sounds something like I might have to get into, because Lord knows I need more wrestling in my life. But
well, I mean, honestly, what it might end up being is that one of us gets a New Japan World and one of us gets High Spots,
and then we can just kind of share. Yeah, that's a great way. That's a good way to do it. And we'll just have Matthew keep his Peacock subscription, and then like if there's anything that we really need to watch on there, then we've got the option for that too. So
see, look, this is how podcast love works.
Yeah, this is how it works. This is how it works. Thinking. Oh man, speaking of somebody who I guess doesn't want to work anymore for the WWE, Scotty Too Hotty has allegedly asked for his release.
No, allegedly. He posted it on his Instagram.
Yeah.
He has asked for his release.
This is a real big one because he has been at the core of NXT's training program, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like
he has been since like 2016, I want to say.
A good long while. And I know he's getting a little older, but he's not like old. He's not
old. He still looks good.
Oh yeah, he could
still probably. He's been wrestling. He's been working with the WWE for 30 years.
Okay, so do you think this is just him being like, I can't take all the releases anymore, I can't take the new direction of NXT? Like, that's what it feels like to me, is probably more of like, this isn't what I signed up to do type thing.
That's kind of how it feels to me. Did you read his statement?
No, do you have it?
I have it. It's today, I have asked for my release from World Wrestling Entertainment. 30 years ago, I stepped into a WWE ring for the very first time. I have lived my dream 100 times over. Some of my most special memories will always be from the last 5 years working with NXT. The black and gold brand was something special, and I am proud to have been a small part of that. I always promised myself that I would never be part of something solely for the paycheck, and that was where I was at. I told myself that I would walk away if I ever got to that point, so that is what I have chosen to do. Coaching and producing the stars of NXT will always be a highlight of my life. I love you all more than you will ever know.
Damn. And you got to think, like, that's an actual role that I don't think he actually even needs to ask for his release, because he's more of like he's an employee. Like, can't imagine the coaches are under the same sort of contracts that performers have.
I really don't know, to be honest with you. Like, I'm 100% not sure on how that works.
I'm not either, but I would assume they're more like, they're not independent contractors. They're more in the realm of actual employees. And I would think like, yeah, there are like employee contracts, but this is more like feels like more like putting in your 2 weeks notice type thing at a job.
Yeah, that's what I would think, but bro, I don't know.
I wonder what he will do, because he's another guy, like, I feel like he's a guy that would be smart for AEW to employ, and again, in more just a backstage role as a guy that can help coach younger talent, because there is a lot of younger talent that needs that coaching over at AEW.
Yep.
Like
Absolutely.
there's plenty of it, and he, especially with doing what he's done in NXT, he's kind of a no-brainer fit for that.
I would think so. Like, he definitely seems to be the like, dude, this is the thing, man. Like, when we went to the PC a few years ago, he was like, he loved it. Like, you could see how much he loved it and how much he enjoyed being there and doing those programs and everything. And it was like, when you told, because I didn't know that he had requested his release until you sent it to me, and I was just,
it just happened right when I just happened to be scrolling through, a forum and saw it, and I was just like, oh shit, you would appreciate this, yeah,
dude. And he was like,
because I remember you telling me you met him, I remember that whole exchange.
I have a picture with him,
yeah.
And dude, like, we were talking about Disney and talking about all this and that, and like, he is super cool.
He's very good friends with somebody that we know quite well as well. Like, I don't want to say his name, but we'll just call him Mikey A,
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely, like, he's good friends with him. He was one of the, like, him and Coach Bloom were the ones that saw Reggie and were just like, hey. So
let's switch gears to Reggie a little bit, because I had some Reggie thoughts, and I felt really bad for him because he had to drop that. It's actually the second time recently that he's dropped it. He's usually got it. He got it right back the first time, but he dropped that 24/7, that illustrious Duncan 24/7 championship.
Exactly, the prestigious 24/7 championship.
Yes. This time dropping it in a match to Cedric Alexander, and then through some schmozzery, you had Dana Brooke kind of picking it up, and it's not the first female holder of the belt, but it feels like this was totally in response to some of those Corey Graves comments that came not too long ago, like about Dana Brooke. Would you agree?
Oh, dude. I'm like, what even was that?
It's transparent, right? It seems so transparent. It's just like, oh yeah, like what was it he said again? He's just like, yeah, she tries really hard, but she's just never gonna get there or something. Like, more or less something along those lines.
Yeah, and then like she went in at him, and it was just like, okay, all right, everybody just fucking relax.
This feels like consolation prize. Like, you can technically say you've had gold in the WWE now, and
right.
And that's sort of okay. I feel bad for her, first off, because I don't like that sort of placating attitude towards it. But I also think that, and people will laugh at me for saying this, but I also feel like it devalues that belt. And then, yes, that's a laughable thing because the belt doesn't have a great deal of prestige or value to begin with. But what it does do is it sort of cheapens what our good buddy Reggie has done with that belt. Because
I agree.
I will say this, and you can please pass this along to him. In real life, folks, Duncan is quite good friends with our good buddy Reggie, and we've supported him all along the way, here on the podcast.
I'm down since day one is H. With Reg.
So here's the thing. Before Reggie, there was never a 24/7 actual match. He was the one.
Is that true?
Yes. I believe that is true. He was the guy that actually made the belt legitimate by having actual matches where the rules temporarily stop until the match is over, and then obviously the rules can start again as soon as the bell rings, right?
Right.
But Reggie is the guy that did that. And that is something that isn't really talked about, because what that belt can be is a little bit. He has helped make that belt about as legitimate as you can make it by having actual matches. Now that will go forward, I'm assuming, with other champions And I think that the what he has done by using his incredible acrobatics and, displays of just incredible athleticism in this match format is it's given the 24/7 championship a home, in a sense. It's given it a place where it can lie within the WWE product. Is it the greatest? No. But is it a far better usage of this championship than what it once was, as basically just the goof thing that everybody falls all over each other and it's the Benny Hill sketch every week? Right. Like, and I get it. You're probably still going to have that, but at least you were able to have matches with Reggie, and they were pretty consistent. They were every week for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and honestly, man, like, you remember back in the day, the Hardcore Championship was like that. Like, the Hardcore Championship was under 24/7 rules, but they had matches for the Hardcore Championship as well.
This was a step a little bit more towards what that Hardcore Championship was. And this, I have high hopes that Reggie will win that belt back. But it's going to be tough now, because what are we going to do now? I know other women have won it, but it's always been, how do we get that belt off of Dana Brooke without making Dana Brooke look like a dumbass as well, without like kind of making, we've already done this placating thing by putting this belt on her after these Graves comments. This happens, and now, so how do we get it off of her without increasing the damage, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
To her?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're going to end up with random smozzery. And you remember a couple weeks ago when they just had like 5 different people win it all, one after another, including the recently released Drake Maverick. I think it'll end up being something like that, and then somebody will run out. My hope is that this leads to Reggie doing more singles matches outside of the 24/7 title, and like, so too, doing more stuff, because my man has talent. He's got a lot of skill, and I think that once people actually see that, it was the same as when he was like paired up with Carmella and doing this stuff with Sasha. Once people started to see like that, A, he's got charisma, and B, he's got, some moves, like the people get into it. So this is
going to sound like heresy, and it kind of is. It's almost a death wish, but I do still want to see it. Have him be a tag team with Ricochet. What the fuck is Ricochet doing right now? Nothing.
Right.
We know they're buddies backstage. We know that like Ricochet probably does have a lot more cred in the wrestling world than, an experience that can probably help Reggie along. And, it's the wrong company, honestly, for me to be suggesting this, because WWE just doesn't care about, number one, doesn't care about tag teams, but also doesn't seem to care about Ricochet. So that's also an issue, but
very sad, but very true.
Yeah. But that seems like that would be a nice, I don't know, that would just be a nice little fit. And I feel like you could do, it doesn't have to last for that long, but I feel like you could have a nice, 6-month run, as a tag team, and maybe even could, get some tag team gold around their waist. Like,
I definitely think that they have that potential. Like, there is definitely the potential there for, there's no, and we always complain about tag teams just shoved together for no reason. It's just like, well, these two are highly athletic, and why not put them together because they're highly athletic? There's no reason not to do that. So I think the potential is really there. Have them fucking feud with the Usos. Those two would put on a banger of a match.
Yep.
Have them, like, dude, RK Bro, either way you want to go with
Street Profits.
dude, Street Profits for sure. Even somebody like the Dirty Dogs, the
Yeah.
Dirty I Banged Your Mom Dogs. Um, they would be good. It's just
How do I
give them
like
a chance.
Dolph now more in that tag team than I've ever liked Dolph in my like, I don't know why, but I kind of like the Dirty Dogs, I'll be honest. Like
I'm not even gonna lie. I kind of like the Dirty Dogs as well.
switch gears just a little bit here and let's talk about some sort of sad news in a sense. More just crazy. It's sad and crazy, but the fact that Kenny Omega is obviously going to be taking quite a hiatus for a multitude of surgeries, and it just goes to show that this guy was working like
Dude,
way
can you
not-
imagine working
way
under the
not good.
injuries that he was working under?
We're talking shoulders, a hernia, extensive bouts of vertigo, I believe.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm missing another, but we're talking multiple surgeries. I think it's even something with one of his knees, I want to say, or his like hip or something. But
Yeah, he's been fucked up for a while now.
and how is it like? Yeah, the last few Kenny matches haven't been the greatest matches of Kenny's career, but they haven't been bad matches. They've not been bad matches by any stretch of the imagination.
I don't know that you could ever call a Kenny Omega match a bad match.
And like with all of those injuries, still being able to pull off what he's being able to pull off is just it's ungodly, really. It totally explains what we talked about, I think, last week with those couple of botches, that one in particular with the power bomb spot.
Power bomb.
Yeah, Luchasaurus, I want to say.
Yep.
It totally explains a lot of this. And I don't know if you've ever had vertigo, but like you can't drive when you got like severe vertigo.
Oh no.
Let alone wrestle a match where you're keeping people
at the caliber
safe. Yeah.
And at the caliber that Kenny Omega wrestles at.
Do you think we don't know how long it's going to be. I'm assuming this is probably going to be pretty lengthy, and I'm going to guess around 6 months. I know that's just pulling a fucking figure out of my ass. But say he comes back in 6 months, do you envision Kenny still as a heel, or is that the time to turn him back face?
I think at that point it's going to be a natural face turn. Although you'd kind of do it like Seth did, right? Mm-hmm. And have him come back and you think he's going to be a face, and then he comes back and just goes full heel on the company, like or on the fans. I could definitely see that. So
it's I guess it all depends on the developments between now and then in the world title picture, and the developments that are going to come with the Elite and the Super Click and all that sort of stuff. Matt and Nick are also apparently both injured as well, so that adds another wrinkle into things.
Yep.
Sounds like they're going to be on TV, but they're not going to be wrestling for a while, so that's kind of interesting. Definitely puts Adam Cole in a pretty nice position, I would assume, like to kind of take the reins and like he's already a megastar, but put him on that megastar level. I'm sensing a Cole face turn.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And this is where I'm going with this. Hangman's going to lose this belt in about a month. And he's going to lose it to Bryan Danielson. So
he sure is.
I think it's going to this is not going to be at a pay-per-view either.
Oh no, I don't think it'll be on a pay-per-view. I think
I don't think they can stretch it that long.
I think it'll be on Rampage.
I think it's going to happen at Winter is Coming.
Oh, yeah.
Winter is Coming, they build as such a big deal the first time, and they're already starting to build it as a pretty big deal the second time around.
Yeah.
I think you're going to maybe get a surprise debut with that show as well. I think it's a proper place to do it. If I'm guessing who that debut is, it's going to be Wyndham Rotunda.
Ooh,
That's where I would
like
debut
it.
him. But I would also have, because timing seems to work quite right, because you've got about a month of shows, I want to say, maybe like 4 to 5 weeks of shows of Dynamites before we get to Winter is Coming. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look up the date. But
Yeah, I think you're probably pretty close on that.
But that gives Bryan the chance to do his Dark Order stuff, right? Bash
Yep.
all the fucking, like, the goons in every single one of the Dark Order. I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but it is a genius idea if you do Colt Cabana here in Chicago this week. Then you've got the following week a show in Georgia, which, Allen Angels or 5 is from. Following week,
Right.
You've got John Silver from Long Island. Then you can, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be in the hometown with every one of them, but then you could maybe do 10 or you could do Reynolds. And then following from that, Winter is Coming, Danielson, Hangman.
Yep.
Hangman loses.
Yeah.
Leading towards the Adam Cole face turn to have Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan, and I will say Daniel Bryan in this instance because of their previous match when they had to save, I believe, a SmackDown episode because of that whole Saudi Arabia flight
the Saudi
debacle.
thing. Yeah.
And that was, I think, one of the best matches of WWE that year. So, do we relive that? Do we reignite that feud? Do we have something involving those guys? Also makes way for kind of a Mount Rushmore that could happen in January.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I think you're pretty on point with that, to be honest.
I hope I'm right because it sounds fucking cool. I don't know about the Wyndham Rotunda thing. I just feel like the Winter is Coming sort of like that's got like an eerie vibe to it, and that would fit kind of in the character of maybe whatever, Wyndham or Rotunda or Bray or whatever you want to call him. Like it just would kind of fit in the vibe of him is why I mentioned that. And it being that, like, the anniversary of when Sting debuted, just somehow I feel like you need maybe like one surprise debut on that show.
I agree. You need to have something like, and it lends itself to sort of like the borderline ethereal and ooky spooky.
Yep. How do you see this whole Punk MJF thing shaping out?
Ooh.
Because I'm intrigued. I feel like they saved Punk a little bit, like from the boredom that we were kind of getting with the Eddie Kingston stuff. I don't think that that's over. And I don't
think it is either.
But I think that might even come into play within this feud with MJF, and I think there's a chance for a quite lengthy Punk MJF feud with this.
I think this has the potential to be the like sort of the modern day version of the feud that Jericho and Punk had back in WWE, like minus the whole boozing stuff. But I think that it could definitely like it's just a natural sort of.
The two of them just are meant to go against each other, aren't they? They're meant to have this.
They're both cocky pricks, and like that, like two egos that size can't really exist in the same universe, and I do kind of love that.
Whereas I kind of said that I don't think they can stretch Bryan and Hangman out to the next pay-per-view. I feel like they can with Punk and MJF.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I feel like much as I love Hangman,
what if Kingston costs not Punk but costs MJF? I think the money eventually is in a 3-way with those guys.
I would pay to see that.
It looks good on paper to me.
Yeah, it looks good on paper to me too. I'm definitely into that.
Did you like the whole the thing on Dynamite where MJF was cutting the promo and Punk's music hit and he just kind of came down and didn't say a word, and MJF went for the handshake, and then he just turned around. I saw a lot of people that were like, that was one of the best things ever. It was so smart. That was such good, shit. I thought it was, personally, I just kind of thought it was a cheap way out.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I know a lot of people sort of jizzed themselves for it. I was not one of them.
Okay.
I thought, you know how I feel about Punk, right? It takes a lot for it to
move the needle.
Yeah, exactly. But that being said, he has multiple times moved the needle for me.
Mm-hmm.
This just wasn't really one of them. And like,
I didn't hate it.
No, but I didn't hate it either, but it was just kind of like, okay.
I guess it's smart in a sense that you're not blowing your load right off the bat, that you've got stuff to work with down the road. You can, the promo battles that the two of these are going to be able to have are going to be amazing.
That's really the only thing I'm looking forward to.
I mean, they can, MJF we know can wrestle, and Punk has been not great, but
but better.
and so I feel like you do have the ability to probably have some good ring-in stuff, with the two of them, just on a psychological basis. I think, if nothing else. So there's that. I'm interested in this, and I think it's coming off the heels of how strong I felt about that Kingston Punk build. They needed something almost as big and for Punk to get into, to keep it interesting, as they are doing with MJF, who I think most people that are AEW fans see as a main event or top guy.
This is the thing about MJF, is he is so early on in his career that the level of unbelievable heel that he can achieve is going to be fucking so good. Like, he is just like, he does have that potential.
Yep. And
they're doing great by not wasting it and not pushing it. They're just letting it naturally develop.
They're letting it breathe.
Yeah.
They're letting it breathe, and that is so important with a guy like him. That's why he doesn't wrestle every single week. That is, it's important for him to wrestle kind of 6 times a year. Like, that's sort of
right.
That's sort of that makes it work better in my eyes.
Yeah, it's definitely more of that. Dude, I don't know. Almost more of like an old school Ted DiBiase, where DiBiase came out and he like cut promos and he let his mouth do the talking, and he didn't wrestle that often. And when he did, like, it was a big match.
Yep.
So I think that's definitely the way to do it. And it's hard to tell because I feel like MJF has lost a lot of his feuds lately, but it doesn't really bother me as much as some other.
Well, he's coming off a big one just now, so that he does at least have that.
Right.
And realistically, I kind of think MJF needs to beat Punk.
I don't disagree.
But I still love the involvement somehow of Kingston in this, because I don't think that feud is over with Punk and Kingston. And what I think would be interesting in this whole thing, MJF's like, sticking his nose into Punk's business. Yeah, Kingston doesn't like doesn't like Punk. But he's got more respect for Punk than he does for an MJF. Like, naturally, you would think so in the character in kayfabe, right?
For sure.
So he's gonna cost MJF a match with Punk out of a disrespect type thing that you need to get the fuck out of here because this was between me and him, and now you're sticking your nose in my business essentially. So I'm gonna cost you. And I do love the idea that becomes a triple threat, and then that's a way for Punk to take his first loss in AEW. And you could do it. You could go either way. You could have MJF beat Punk, or you could have Kingston get his win back off Punk in that scenario.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't like you won't cheapen Punk because you can have all sorts of shenanigans in a triple threat that have Punk not necessarily lose. But I think Punk needs to take either way. Punk would take the pin or take the fall on this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
that's the way I'd go.
Because I keep coming back to who's going to be the one to eventually beat Punk, and it has to be a newer star. So, and who better than Canyon? Who better than fucking MJF?
Exactly. Who better than MJF to do that? It just makes the most sense. It does. It makes the total most sense. Couple questions from our Facebook as we start to wrap up the podcast for the eve. What the hell happened to Brian Cage? I forgot who asked that, but that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Did he get injured?
Right. I feel like he was doing like he did a couple of indie things. Let me look this up. Let me see.
See if he's injured or see if because I feel like he's just he went into obscurity ever since the whole Team Taz thing, and he left them, and then that happened, and I guess ever since he lost the FTW belt to Ricky Starks, right? I don't think it's probably the last time we saw him.
Yeah, he's basically, it looks like he's been doing a lot of working out. Surprise.
Yeah, a lot of steroids as usual.
Well, I mean, that's really pretty much to be expected. But yeah, it looks like he's been working out, lifting weights, wrestled for XPW. He's apparently the new XPW wrestling champion.
Okay, so he's doing some stuff. He's doing a lot of indies. He's out there. Maybe that's cool. That's actually kind of smart, right? For Tony Khan to be like, hey, don't have a ton for you right now. We're gonna have something maybe for you in a few months, but you're under contract. But feel free, go out there, do some indie dates. Take some bookings, make some extra cash.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need you right now. Try not to get injured. Be good for in a couple months, and we'll see you then. That's actually kind of genius.
Yeah, and he's also the last person to Hangman Page.
Okay.
He's the last person to pin Hangman.
Now, I don't mind that little angle if they want to have Hangman actually have a strong defense against someone, before going up against Bryan Danielson. Like, Cage is a good opponent for that, so that would actually work quite well. I just feel for Brian Cage and having to take another loss in that situation, because he is talented. I just wish he, I wish he had a bit more of a on-screen personality.
Right.
I this question was asked, and I thought to myself, and it was before you had sent me that picture of the flyer for that Mox Kingston Archer Suzuki match.
Oh yeah.
Because my question was going to be, what do you do with Lance Archer upon his return? I guess we kind of know that now. You're doing stuff in New Japan with Suzuki Gun, but what do you do with him in AEW? And realistically, after that Brian Cage question was asked, I'm like, you could do a pretty badass tag team if you align those two guys.
Oh man, yeah, you definitely could.
That just seems like, because AEW's got a lot of great tag teams, but they're on the smaller side. There's not really been a big Demolition or Road Warrior-y type, tag team in AEW, right?
Correct.
So, having a Haas tag team like those two guys, that would be a smart way to kind of, in my opinion, invigorate a division that needs a little bit of invigorating right now.
Yeah, it absolutely does. That's the thing. Like, it definitely does.
And it's so weird because that was not the case at all when like the company was almost started around tag team wrestling, and it feels like it's really just slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, well, I really wonder if part of that is like Matt and Nick being hurt and being less interested in tag teams than they are
Themselves.
in themselves. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't want that to be the case, but it does kind of sort of feel that way a little bit.
I kind of get that vibe as well. And right now, as much as I love the Lucha Bros, this run's not doing much for me because there's not, like, they've kind of burned all the bridges for me with all the FTR stuff. So it feels like I don't really know who that next set of, competitors is.
That's the thing. We need to find a new set of actual legitimate contenders.
Can I tell you who I think it's going to be?
Please.
Who I want it to be.
Who's that?
So, Lucha Bros are face right now.
Yes.
That's why I wouldn't do, even though I want to see it, I want it to be Santana on Ortiz. But I don't think that that's going to happen because I don't think they're going to do, they've got to turn one of them, before that would happen.
Man, I think Santana and Ortiz need a good heel turn, but it's kind of hard for that to happen with
Inner Circle.
them being the Inner Circle.
So there's another option that I kind of thought about, and that's maybe do you get like deeper into the Black Andrade stuff, which I'm like, I don't want. Do you do Cody Pac? Nah. Same kind of thing as well. But then there's a little like diamond in the rough. And the problem with these two is one's a face and one's a heel. But Dante and Lio Rush are absolutely fucking killing it right now. I know they've only had like 2 to 3 matches or something. Right. I think it's only the 2 as a tag team. But their chemistry's incredible. Like the work that Lio Rush is doing, he hasn't missed a step. I think it's really like unique tag team wrestling as well. And I think that those like the Dante Lio versus the Lucha Bros match is something that like because of those unique styles of all 4 of those men just has potential on paper. And yeah, you got to maybe do some character work to make it work. But quite frankly, Dante Martin would benefit greatly from a heel turn right now because he doesn't have much of a character.
Yeah. I would love to see Dante because the kid is so fucking talented. Like, I would love to see him.
He's got to turn. He's got to have his brother come back, and he's got to turn on him. Yep. He's got to choose Leo. He's going to choose Leo over the Team Taz stuff, and then he's going to choose Leo over his brother because Leo is actually in kayfabe helping him to victory in every and I love how they're doing it within the matches. That Leo is just like now hit the move now, go, like do that. Right. Like he's telling him, he's giving him instruction that's winning the match. This is what then they can use as like I could seriously see like them as the tag team champions. Like I think that would be great, a great way to kind of build them before their eventual split up, and then probably a reunion of Top Flight down the road with his brother, and a eventual face turn back to face turn with Dante. So like there's just something there that I feel is like lightning in a bottle that they need to capitalize on. And they're typically pretty smart about jumping on like, oh, this is working. Let's go with it. Maybe that's like whatever plans we had. Maybe let's push those back a little bit. We can get to those later. Let's do this now. And then you can do Santana and Ortiz versus Dante and fucking Leo. Like that is badass.
That would be a banger. That's a banger right there for sure. So yeah, like Dante Martin, as much as I like him, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. He needs to be fucking, like, he needs something, because
all he does
it's
is do
only going to
mopey
continue.
face. He stands there with a sad face as Leo Rush is like telling him to do things. Like he's just like,
Well,
oh, I'm sad.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The last Facebook question, of course, from our good buddy Duce. This is kind of something we talk about every week, but I'll ask it anyway. What do you think is going on with WWE? Do you think they are selling? And if so, who is buying?
Well, I didn't want anybody to find out, but I
Oh.
mean, I am actually buying WWE.
Oh, that's good, bro.
About Tree Fitty.
Yeah. It's the ONWWE now, and
Oh no, World Wrestling Entertainment.
Oh man.
Oh no, honestly though, if we bought WWE, it would go to be the ONWWF again.
It would.
Oh no, World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah,
because
it's
fuck that shit.
Yeah, absolutely it would. And you know what? We couldn't do any worse, really, than what they're doing. I'm not gonna say I'd be the best booker in the world, but I'm pretty sure that we could put on 5 hours of TV and a monthly pay-per-view better than they can right now.
Jesus Christ, man, I would fucking think so, because it is atrocious.
It is. I guess there's a lot of names that have been thrown out with like who's buying probably, and I do think that is the case. I think that they are gearing up to sell them more and more. I was very skeptical of this early on with the releases, but with every new round of them, I think that that's just got to be something that they're preparing to do on a business side. Amazon's been tossed around, Disney's been tossed around. I still think it's probably going to be an NBC Universal just because of their previous relationship with it. But you know, if I'm NBC Universal right now, I might not be too happy with the product. So there's thank you, Realted Hicks, for your follow. But no, I might not be.
Awesome.
But I might not be super happy with what you're kind of doing, and
right.
And I might be second guessing. I think that might have been maybe, something they thought about before, but like, hey, we just spent like $1 billion on
Well, yeah, and especially now with how much Peacock has been losing.
Yep.
So, and like WWE obviously wasn't didn't bring as many viewers as they thought they would. Like, I'll admit it, man, like they got my money for so many months without me ever turning that fucking app on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, apart from once a month pay-per-view for me.
Yeah. Well, and there were a handful of times I didn't even do that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this was my first one, but yeah, like it's gone that far. And when it comes to like what is going on with them, I truly feel that they feel no matter if they're selling or not, they need and are making drastic changes. That's very clear with the NXT 2.0 stuff. They are no longer in the business of, well, they never were really, they haven't been in the business of professional wrestling in a long time, but they're no longer in the business of dealing with like making NXT a super indie, and they're very much, they're in the business of making content. And that is what they are doing. They will become a content creation factory to which you have probably never ever seen, and they are on the road to doing that, and that's why they don't need as many people as they used to. They're gonna cycle like, I wish they had the foresight to. They still need to build new people. I just don't know that they really see like. With WWE used to see like, oh, let's build a new star, like an Austin, a Cena, a Roman Reigns, and this would be a star, or Rock, for instance, that would carry them through the next like decade, right?
Right.
They see them now as building like the stars that they are building. Be like, yeah, he's going to be good for the next 2 years, and then they'll be done with him, and then they'll cycle through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you're 100% right. Like, it's just such a short turnaround now. They're just like, okay, well, this is what we get, and they like, there's no long-term booking. It's use it as much as you can, as fast as you can, and then just toss it away. So it's really fucked up, man. But yeah, I think selling is the logical, like, that makes sense to me.
It does.
That they would be selling. Like, there's no way that they're not selling. And it's just like, yeah, the thought of WWE not being owned or run by a McMahon is really fucking weird to me.
Yeah, it is. It is. And if it was, the whole thing with Trips is interesting to me, because with him having being kind of like stripped of all of his responsibilities from NXT, he's sort of like, what is he doing, right? Like, we don't really know.
Well, he had a cardiac event.
Yeah, we know that. And then we saw him just recently in a hard hat walking around the new Titan Towers or whatever the fuck they're building. I think that's what he was doing.
Fake ass Titan Towers.
It'll never be that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like, if he's like completely out of the picture, say they sell and he's completely out of the picture, I can legit see Hunter starting his own promotion.
I read something about that too, and I also, like, there was like rumor killer about Triple H starting his own promotion, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, well.
But I think that you are absolutely right, and if they did sell, especially if they sold and cut him out,
it's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like, if they,
he's still going to want to be involved in the business to some degree, right?
Yeah, and especially if he feels like they've done him dirty, he'll be like, okay.
Yep, see you later. I'm going to do my own thing. And he'd probably have a lot more success doing something like that.
I would agree.
We've got one last little thing that I wanted to throw at you. And, it's
oh, God.
Well, it's something I mentioned a few weeks back.
Okay.
And I was like, wouldn't it be fun if we did a sort of Versus-like segment? If you're not familiar with Versus, that's something we do on the OhNo radio show. But a Versus-like segment with wrestlers in actual shoot fights. And this is where we'll do like an actual shoot fight and who we think would win in an actual shoot fight between these particular pairings of wrestlers. You get the concept?
Okay.
You got the concept, Duncan? You got it?
I'm in. I'm picking up what you're putting down,
all
sir.
All right. As long as you're picking it up here. All right. Let me get some. I got to get some good fight music going on here in the back. All right. We're in Fight Club. We're in the Raw Underground right now. Okay. So.
Where's Shane?
Just because of the what you mean, the best in the world, Shane McMahon? I mean,
yep, that's exactly what I meant.
That's who you meant, right? Because of the last this pay-per-view this last week, and because of all the heat that's been coming in real life, shoot fight. Who wins between Charlotte and Becky, Duncan?
Becky.
Think so, huh?
Yeah.
Charlotte's got that reach. She's got that reach.
Charlotte's got the reach, but Becky's got the rage.
She does seem more fiery. I feel like she would probably do some crazy shit. Like, she'd be using some nails. She'd be eye gouging.
She'd bite her fucking nose off.
Yeah, she would do some biting. And
it's the Saigon whore that bit my nose off.
And we know Becky can take a legit potato in the face and be all right. So. All right, yeah, no, you're right. I think I'll go with Becky on that one too. That's fair.
Yes, I love the bell.
Yeah, the bell's back, baby. Next, we have something that was also a bit of a real life shoot argument on Twitter or comments in podcasts or wherever this came from, but none other than Matt Riddle versus the one Bill Goldberg.
Ooh. I think Riddle takes Dadberg. Dadberg likes guns. Dadberg gets gas too easy.
Yeah, he does. Like, as long as Goldberg, if you got him, like, I feel like he, just his sheer size and power would probably be able to take Riddle down. But then Riddle's like a ex-MMA guy. He knows all them crazy like twist around counters and yeah. I want to go Riddle
Goldberg concusses himself on a door, but he did end Bret Hart's career. So those are your two ends of the spectrum on Goldberg. So you know what? I'm changing it, Goldberg.
Yeah, kind of. Unfortunately, I have to kind of go Goldberg on this
Yeah,
one.
fuck. No, you're right. Like, Riddle had me in the first half, and then I think just Goldberg rages out.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Next off, I don't know why I picked this one, but I think it's just because of maybe their previous relationship on screen and how once upon a time, KO was indeed Triple H's boy. So I'm going to go with a KO versus Triple H bout.
Ooh. Prize fighter versus the cerebral assassin.
And we're talking modern day. We're talking day of, whatever day it is, November the 23rd.
November 23rd.
2021, Triple H KO.
Oh, well then KO all day because Trips is still recovering from heart surgery.
Then, okay, we can agree there. We'll take it a year ago, and then we'll do it in 2020 prior to any cardiac events.
Ooh, I would go Trips because homie works hard.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like Trips is still like he's got that old man strength. Like he's got that old man toughness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always had strength, but like the old man strength mixed with the fact that he works out all the time, like he flies a personal trainer in to do midnight workouts and shit.
Yeah. All right, we're both going Trips on that one.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think we already kind of half saw it, but what if it was 100% real? Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk.
Oh, bro.
We know the answer, right?
We know the answer. Punk is getting murdered.
Yeah, Kingston would absolutely I thought about it just because of the MMA training that CM Punk had, right? And he has been a couple legit fights, but I'm like, nah, I don't think that accounts for pure street toughness that Kingston has.
That's what I'm saying. Kingston is a fucking bulldog.
Yeah. And kind of a lovely bulldog too. I want to.
Dude, I love
Kingston. I want to cuddle him or something. I don't know what it is.
He's my guy. I think he's my guy right now.
Yeah, he really is. He's got beautiful eyes too. If you ever noticed, part of it, he's got beautiful blue eyes. Something about that Kingston. And I have to agree with you. It's Eddie Kingston against CM Punk. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There you go. There's my little verses.
I love it.
We'll do shoot fights every once in a while here on the podcast. The last thing I needed to bring up before we get out of here.
It has to be last, because I am getting attacked by a velociraptor over here.
Jay Lethal.
Oh.
Bit of an odd debut for Jay Lethal.
Yeah? Losing to Sammy Guevara?
I mean, it was probably the right call, but not often you have a wrestler debut in a promotion and get beat on his first match. Also kind of weird that they sort of even acknowledge some of the, speaking out stuff. Kind of and then having, Chris Jericho calm down and having this whole, weird little celebration with him and the welcome and, I don't know if this was meant to smooth that stuff over. Something about this. This was the first time, in my opinion, AEW have had a lack of optics in a situation pretty dramatically, and I don't know that it was the smartest thing to hire him in the first place. And also, what the hell do we do with him? What are we doing with Jay Lethal?
Well, dude, this is the thing is he's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
But and honestly, arguably the things that Jay Lethal was accused of are worse than some of the things that the other people wrapped up in speaking out that got full on canceled were.
Is this kind of the weird way to smooth out getting a Marty Scurll in a roundabout way in or something? You know what I mean? Is this kind of we've done this? That wasn't that bad. It was almost that's dipping the toes in the waters of some of that stuff. Because I don't know if it felt like that to you, but it felt like that to me. And it sort of it was the first time AEW has made me ethically a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, this was a very sort of Saudi moment for AEW.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like Ring of Honor never really got rid of Lethal. So I don't know. He's a fantastic wrestler.
He is. And he's great on the mic, and he's got the charismas, and
yeah.
You know, it's
so. I mean, but then again, Sammy had his problems, and they sent him away to do sensitivity training and blah blah blah. And I really wonder if I guess we'll see in a few weeks how it's playing out and how the crowd's reacting to it, and if it continues to be. Like if it's getting over and it's a thing that works, I would not be surprised to see one Martin Scurll make his AEW.
I'm kind of with you. I feel like this is almost a trial run. Like they didn't want to do him first.
It's a test balloon.
It's a test balloon. Exactly. So,
and arguably, like this is what I'm saying. Like Lethal's accusations are worse than Marty's.
They are.
There's multiples and there's more and it's more intense. And like, so we've had the conversations multiple times, but like, it is very, very interesting to me that they chose to do it. And the crowd reaction was also very interesting too. Like they were like, Lethal. Yeah.
They want to cheer for him, but then they remember. They're like, yeah.
They're like, oh fuck, we're not supposed to cheer for him.
Yeah, it's. I think we've nailed it. I think this was an experiment. I think this was something they're doing it with a guy that they don't 100% really want. Like he's useful. Don't get me wrong. He's useful. Gonna be good. Gonna be handy.
Right.
But they don't want to do that with somebody who could potentially be a goddamn megastar and that of Marty Scurll.
Right. Absolutely. No, I think we ONW we nailed it right on the head there.
I think we kind of did. I've got to really pee, and I know you got to deal with the dog. So I'm gonna hit this little button right here, which means that we are out for the evening, everybody. We are very sorry about some of the, we're only so sorry. I mean, you could hear it just fine, but, there's been some slight internet issues, but that's okay. Things happen. And you can get the podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts and over at OhNoWrestling.com. If, it's a usual week and the internet's working fine and you're listening on the podcast, don't forget to check us out at twitch.tv/ONRS Live. Patreon.com/ONRS if you want to help support both our shows, and that's this one and the OhNo Radio Show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at OhNo Wrestling and join our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/OhNo Wrestling. Just type in that OhNo Wrestling thing in your search bar if that's too much trouble for you, and you will find it. Join the group, folks, because it's a lot of fun. Whew. Duncan, you good? We out for the evening?
Good. Man, it was a good time.
It was a good time. That being said, everybody, we love you, and we will hopefully see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving, and a little bit of the old woo!